know, today we are going to talk about gender, definition of gender, and how it is different from sex, and what is gender equality and equity, and how it affects individuals. As far as my introduction, like briefly I mentioned, I'm working as an independent consultant. As far as my education is concerned, I have done my master in commerce as well as masters in political science from Pakistan. I am working in the development sector since 1984 in Pakistan. As I mentioned earlier, I have served United States Agency for International Development and United Nations World Food Program, Catholic Relief Society, United Nations Development Program. With these organizations, I have been working, uh, on the managerial positions and like when I was in World Food Program, I was the head of office of Balochistan province. And all these international organizations, they work in partnership with the government and with the line departments. When I say line departments, that means uh, the government having different departments like education, health, irrigation. According to the projects, the partnership was developed with these line departments. And the plan was prepared. The plan included like appraisal missions were sent down to the rural areas where the community is living and talk to them and having their feedback. And it was make sure that uh, all stakeholders as well as the community, women, boys, and girls were included at the time of appraisal. And accordingly, the plans were prepared and resources were allocated and projects were implemented. And my role was to manage all those projects in terms of training of partners, staff, and and make sure that resources are available as per plan and implementation and external evaluations of those projects. Briefly, it was the system which was in Pakistan in the development sector, and it is still working over there. And different international organizations, UN organizations are there to support government of Pakistan. So mostly I will talk with my experience, which I have developed over past years, and that is related to, again, I would say about gender. As far as my services, which I rendered to different organizations, again, those were international organizations. I'm working as an independent consultant since 2008. And the services I rendered again to the United Nations organizations, to the World Bank, and to some of the international non-governmental organizations and some of the national governmental uh, organizations. And my services, those I rendered to them were related to monitoring and evaluation. Uh, I monitored their projects and joined the evaluation team as an expert and prepared the reports accordingly. I participated in participatory appraisal surveys. In fact, when we talk about the project design in some of the areas, the poverty is a high rate. So then we need to do appraisal in order to understand the level of poverty over there and then accordingly design the projects. And I also work for qualitative and quantitative research with these organizations I mentioned. And also, uh, when I mentioned about the World Bank, I was team lead for preparing a 5 years disaster risk management plan for the province of Balochistan. Uh, Balochistan is a province of Pakistan, and it is, I mean, a very geographically very large province, and due to shortage of rain in most of the areas, there was drought condition, and in some of the areas there were floods, and World Bank is still assisting in order to cope, in order to assist the government of Balochistan and their projects for there. So as a head of team lead, I worked for preparation of disaster risk management plan. The plan included financial resources, technical assistance, and how to go for implementation of these plans. And I mean, I also rendered services related to community development. When we talk for the implementation or for the appraisal of these projects, the community is ensured that they are involved in that. Without community, no projects can be a successful project. We need to know their needs and then accordingly develop projects and then implement them accordingly. So as far as the trainings needs are concerned, I have been conducting training since like when I was in USAID. Since then, since 1984, I have been conducting training with USAID. We were having a faculty, and as I was part of that, and management training was given to the health officials right from provincial uh, officers to at the down level health center staff, and it was related to management of primary health care, how primary health care can be delivered in an effective way, and how it should be managed. So this is, I mean, just for the sake of example, I mentioned, and then I conducted training for the counterpart staff related to monitoring, evaluation, what is monitoring, what is evaluation, basic concepts, and how to do it practically. Uh, what is the logical frame, logical framework? What are the indicators we consider during monitoring, and what is difference between monitoring evaluation? The training was organized according to the need after need assessment. And again, related to the gender, I conducted trainings, and I worked with 10 Judicial Academy as a monitoring experts, monitoring expert for monitoring the ongoing training. Those were uh, conducted for the honorable judges, and I monitored those trainings and generated reports. And at that time, within 1 year, around 400 honorable judges were trained on gender. Mostly that was related to gender sensitization, and awareness was given to them related to gender and how they can link with their ongoing judicial system, so that uh, everybody gets the benefit, and no one is left, uh, and all of them get the justice. So that was, I mean, 1 year I was there as a senior monitoring expert. These were, I mean, some of the my services, those I rendered. Briefly, I wanted to mention. Now we will talk about uh, gender. In fact, when we talk about gender, it is not a simple subject, and sometimes you can find it a sort of a very complex topic and sensitive in a way, because it is related to, I mean, social roles, and the roles are different in different areas. Like if I talk about Pakistan, and if I talk about Sudan, for instance, I mean, the traditions are different in different areas. they are different country to country, they are different province to province, and they are different like community to community. So in that sense, I was saying that it was sort of a controversial uh, topic. And but in spite of all these, I will try to keep this topic very simple, so that so that all of us, all the participants of this session, the students, can understand what is gender, and they have knowledge, and they can gain the knowledge from this session, and the knowledge in a way that they can utilize to their personal lives, in the community, at their workplace, at their, I mean, with their families, because it is, I mean, gender is applicable at the family level, at the community level, at the workplace, everywhere you go. When we will go into the details, you will get the idea of how it is, I mean, applicable at every level. So my emphasis would be that the knowledge which you are gaining today, it is not theoretical knowledge. It should be in a way that you can utilize this knowledge in your practical life at different levels I mentioned. I mean, so far, is there any question so that I can reply, or I should go ahead? Any question related to that so far I have talked about?
Remember, if you have questions, you can write them into chat or go down to reactions in the menu, click on reactions, and you'll see a button. So you actually raise your hand, and then you'll see a hand raised on your screen, and you'll rise up to where you can actually ask the question. We will unmute your microphone so that you can ask the question. Oh, we do have a student here, Dr. Nosize, who is studying development studies and gender and development studies at AIU and graduated. It would be interesting to hear from that student right now and ask about his experience. Would you want to, is that something that sounds interesting to you, Muhammad Saghir?
Yes, please. Yes. Why not? Please go ahead.
Find him. Dr. Nosije, are you able to talk and tell us about your experiences in gender and development studies? I think your microphone is open now. Go ahead and talk.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity. I was still, honestly speaking, still listening, but in my point of view, gender, like the colleague has alluded to, is a very complex term, which is not yet even being understood by people. Having said that, in my country, there are so many prescripts that are in place in terms of addressing gender inequalities, as well as looking towards gender mainstreaming. But even though there are so many prescripts in place, you know, what is said and what is prepared by the government is one thing, but what can be experienced in terms of implementation on the ground is another story, honestly speaking. We are still getting there. There are so many organizations. If I may just say something that strikes my interest is that whilst a lot is being said about equalizing the gender imbalances, what came as a new thing was gender-based violence, which in my view could be something that is contrary to the affirmative actions that are being in place. Maybe for now, let me just stop there, because I was interested to listening to what is it that my colleague is doing. Just before I close, Prof, let me just say, in my view, I think What needs to be done is empowerment sessions that targets the minds of our youth so that everyone understands the gender identity, who is a person, and the gender roles, as well as trying to act according to one's gender. That is my personal point of view. Because as we are busy trying to balance something that maybe we get some pervasive outcomes like your gender-based violence. I don't know whether I'm clear, because also I've been experiencing a lot of load shedding. Let me just stop there for now, and I'll hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for adding your thoughts and your insights into this. Dr. Muhammad Saghir.
Yes, yes, I agree, 100% agree that the matter is, as she said, related to implementation. When we come down to the implementation, I mean, there are a lot of hurdles in that. And of course, that needs, I mean, sensitization a lot, as she said, we should involve youth in that. And that's very, I mean, a practical recommendation that that is doable. And in addition to youth, of course, the people, those are well motivated, and those are willing to talk to the youth. They should be encouraged at all levels, like right from the community level up to the, I mean, up to the uh, district as well as provincial level. But she is very right that the starting point is like we have to motivate, we have to sensitize youth especially, and they are, I mean, they are the real worker, and they can make difference in that. Thank you very much. This I mean, very uh, practical recommendation, I would say. May I go ahead?
Yes, please continue.
Okay. As far as the objective of today's session are concerned, uh, the objectives are to enhance knowledge about gender terminologies and concepts. Those are being used different terminologies, and what are the concepts related to gender, and difference between gender and sex. We need to know how gender is different from sex, and we will also discuss about what is gender equity and gender equality, and importance of gender equality, and how we can analyze gender, what is gender analysis, and what are the gender mainstreaming approaches, like how we are going to do it, how we are, I mean, mainstream gender at all levels, so nobody is left out. In fact, for that purpose, before going into the detail of gender, uh, let's talk briefly about family and society, because family and society are also linked with the gender. And as you know, the family is a basic, I mean, institution where the parents teach their children about the respect, about the values, love, and care. And this is, I mean, basic institution from where we learn ab- about all these things, and we are grown up. And when it comes to, I mean, at a larger group, then at a community level, of course, there are, these are the groups where we learn again all these things, and different custom and traditions are built. And these custom and traditions are uh, carried over generation to generation. This is where, like, we need to, I mean, gender sensitize, like family level, community level, at all these levels, so that everybody knows how to overcome the gender issues. Just in order to make it very simple, I would say, if I show this picture and ask question, if you see this picture, what do you think? Is it a man-related job or a women-related job? In some of the societies, traditionally, men, they do not do this kind of job, like they don't press their clothes, and the women are supposed to do this job. Is it so? And but again, as I mentioned, that it is different country to country, area to area, geographical area, family to family. But who decides that this person is going to do this job or not? I mean, again, it is the family from where we get these traditions and customs. We learn these tradition and customs from the family, from the community, from the society. Again, same is the case with the women. Are they supposed to do this kind of labor job? Again, in some of the areas, yes. In some of the areas, no. Like if I mention about some of the developing countries, like in Pakistan, women are not supposed to go outside without a company of a man, and they cannot do this kind of job. What they are allowed is only, my again, in areas, they just do teaching jobs at girls primary schools. That's it. And in some of the areas which they say that we have developed uh, our society, and they go for the sake for the nursing job, the women can go, but they are not allowed to move out for such kind of job. I mean, just for the sake of, I mean, leading to the gender definition, I'm showing these pictures. Who is going to decide all these things? Again, this man is cleaning his house, but if we talk in our country, a man in some of the families, I mean, this is not supposed to be a man job. And I mean, all these things, all these roles are decided by the community, by the society. And the driving, no, again, it is very much prohibited. The women are not supposed to drive. But in developed countries, the women can, I mean, without any hesitation, they are able to drive, and they get the driving license easily. Say,
Dr. Muhammad Saghir, there's a comment in chat that says something that if women made more money in these high value jobs, they would become independent from the family. Your
yes,
thoughts on that?
yeah. This is, I mean, this is, I mean, very true that women, I mean, again, I would relate it to the fundamental rights. Men and women, boys and girls, all of them have fundamental rights. The women have right to access to job, access to education, access to health, same as the men. So it is, it is a matter of fundamental rights, and that has to be given to equally uh, to men and women, and to boys and girls. You're right. So
I just want to just agree with you on that. This is a case of human rights. Men and women are both human,
yeah,
and they both have rights to life
yes,
and expression, and I guess in that sense, their rights should not be limited. Is that correct?
yes, it is very much correct. The rights should not be limited to one, like to men, or not for the women. No, same rights are to be given to everyone. When we deprive of their rights, like uh, this is we call gender imbalance. Like if we allow men only to work and earn income, not women, that affects the whole economy, you see. And the women don't have, access to resources. So it is very much needed at all the level.
I would like to ask you, currently in the United States, I'm seeing in the news that men from around 40 to 55 years of age are dropping out of the labor force. They're just not working anymore. And they're saying that men are having issues as far as their role in society. They don't understand what they need to do in society anymore. So a lot of men are dropping out of society. Have you seen that in the news?
No.
It's just coming out in the last few months as an issue that men are having masculinity issues because they don't know who they are as men in the society. And this is just, it's maybe 10, 15% of the population, but it seems to be a growing trend.
It's growing. No, I don't have any news about that. You're right, it could be.
People are trying to wonder if that's the consequence of gender roles being mixed a lot, and men are losing sense of who they are.
Yeah, you are right. When we talk about gender imbalance, it is not the only women those are being affected. The men are also being affected. And in my next slides, you can see that how the men are being affected due to gender imbalance. It is not the only women. Of course, if we compare the difference, the women are more affected, but the men are also affected, like in the recent example you gave. So again, it is you will see a sort of a different scenario in different areas, in different countries, even in a country, in different cities, in different community level, at different community level, you will find the difference. And now I'll talk further about the definition of gender. Gender refers to the socially constructed roles. Some of the pictures I showed, these are the gender roles socially constructed. Behaviors, expression, identities of girls, boys, women, men, and gender diverse people. All those roles are assigned are constructed socially. Like I mentioned about family, society, they decide about these roles, and nobody can, change over a period of time, in a short time, because these are the traditions. Those are transferring from generation to generation, and different, I mean, efforts have been made. I would say that different efforts have been made in order to control the gender disparity, but still a lot to do. And there are different ways to do it. Uh, Now, if I say that the term refers to society's concept of how men and women are expected to act and how they should behave. Is it a gender role? Is it a gender bias? Is it sexual orientation or sexual attitude? Which one is the correct answer for that? You think about that, the terms gender role or gender bias, sexual orientation, sexual, which one is correct? If I come down to the answer,
You can
It is A.
actually, you can write your answers in chat.
it is A, yeah, okay.
So when you see a question like that, you can actually answer it in chat. Okay, please continue.
Okay. And definition of sex. In fact, sex refers to the biological and physiological characteristics that define men and women. You see the difference? Sex is a biological characteristics, physiological characteristics that defines men and women, and whereas gender is socially constructed roles. There is no difference between gender and sex. Is it true or false?
You can write your answers into chat. Almost all of the answers are saying false.
And now we see the difference. Sex and gender. As you see, sex is a biological and physiological difference of men and women, whereas gender is socially constructed roles, masculinity and femininity. Sex unchanging and known at birth, changes over time. When I say changes over time, the roles, like for instance, we were talking about uh, job opportunities are not given to, for instance, to women. But it is not one-time thing. It can be changed over a period of time. And in different societies, if there is a motivation and they are convinced, they allow women in. So it can be changed anytime, whereas the sex is unchangeable. Like we discussed about universal for all human, equal human rights. Universal for all human beings, equal human rights, gender. These are, I mean, social, political, and economic roles, and they may vary, as I discussed earlier, culture to culture and in different contexts. And now the terms masculine and feminine refers to persons. The answer is B. In routine, if you see the people, they use terms sex and gender interchangeably, but it is incorrect because again, just as I mentioned earlier, sex refer to biological physical differences, while gender is socially constructed roles. So these are not interchangeable. Now, just in order to sum up, the concept of gender is different in each country, region, age, ethnic group, social origin, other factors. There are there are examples that the concept in developing countries, the concept in developed countries, and even in families, in community, it is different at all levels. Now we will talk about gender equity and gender equality. When you see this picture, the kids have been provided, I mean, stools so that they can see the game in the stadium. All equality, when you see the part of equality, you see there are three kids standing on three stools. The small one and the middle one and the first one, they all are having stools. Whereas it is equally divided, the stools have been equally divided, but the little kid cannot see. So in that case, when we talk about equity, it is a matter of fairness, how fair we are when we are providing resources. So for the small boy, they need two, and for the other one, they don't need anyone. So equity is a fair distribution. Equality is equal distribution. I mean, again, equality doesn't work all the time. We have to be fair while allocation of resources and distribution of resources. It is very much needed. And again, same is the case when we say, and when we look at this picture, considering the following scenario, is it fair to say for a fair selection, everybody must take the same exam? I mean, again, the fairness, we say it is fair that everybody has to take the same exam, but in case it doesn't work. So we have to, think between equity and equality, and then we have to decide according to the fairness and according to the requirement, all the resources, or any decision which is made, it should be, thought before.
Dr. Mohammed, can you go back to the previous slide about the people standing on that box?
Yeah,
When I
I
look
am
at
not
that,
doctor. Please, sorry, I'm not a doctor.
oh,
I'm
okay,
Muhammad. Yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah,
So when I look at this, it seems like the tall person on the left just needs to give their box to the person on the far right.
yeah.
So people who have advantages, how do they give those advantages to the people who don't have those advantages? What's the process, of like helping out people who need the extra support?
Yeah, if we split this at the level, the resources are given by the government to the people. This is one scenario. And when you live in the community, you respect each other as we discussed that we learn love, care at the family level, and then it goes up to the community level. So it is again matter of when we talk about community or at the family level, it's a matter of care and love. But when it comes down to the government, then again, it has to be from their side. So is it okay?
Yeah, that was an
Okay.
excellent answer. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I sum up gender equity aims to promote fairness and justice. When we talk about equity, promotes fairness and justice, give people what they need to enjoy full healthy life. Whereas gender equality refers to the state of having the equal rights, status, opportunities as others, women, men, boys, and girls in order to enjoy full healthy life. So we have to keep balance of gender equality and equity. Earlier we were discussing that women are affected by gender stratification. Is it true or false? Is it false because men also suffer? Again, gender equality refers to the state of having equal rights, status, opportunities as other women, men, boys, and girls in order to enjoy full healthy life. When we talk about inequality, it affects women, men, gender diverse people, children, and families. Now we will talk briefly about gender stereotypes. A gender stereotype is a generalized view of perception about attributes or characteristics that are or ought to be possessed by women and men, or the roles that are or should be performed by men and women. For example, example of stereotypes, the women, they are homekeepers, caregivers, provide of, providers of unpaid work. When we say unpaid work, when it is related to when they are at home, they do different work at home. They wash the clothes, they wash the dishes, and they do a lot, but they are not paid, and they are their work of lesser value. In some of the places, you have noticed that a work which is done by men and women, but the women are paid less. And the people think that women are more emotional, whereas it is considered, and it is sort of again gender stereotype, that man is a breadwinner and he's supposed to do it. He's supposed to be a strong, and men can do hard labor job. I mean, these are the things which are, I mean, stereotypes. But in some of the cases, you have noticed, and like in my past experience, I have seen that women, they also do a lot of labor job at time of need. And yes, it's true in most of the cases, in most of the areas in my country, the decisions are made by men, may it be at family level, at community level, or at any forum. The decisions are with men, and they are independent in order to make any decisions, to do anything. Now come down to gender analysis that refers to variety of methods used to understand the relationship between men and women. When we talk about gender analysis, we need to know these basic questions. Who has the access to resources? Again, we have to keep in mind that these are different in different scenario, in different countries, different villages, different societies. Access to resources. Only men have access to resources in my country, especially in the remote areas, in the rural areas, and they control and they make decision how to spend them. And when we talk about gender analysis, we need to know who does what, with what resources, who has the access to resources, benefit, and opportunities. I mean, these are all related to gender analysis. Who controls resources, benefits, and opportunities. These analyses lead us to make right decisions so that men, women, boys, and girls have basic fundamental rights and access, control, and decision-making powers. Now we will briefly discuss about gender mainstreaming. What is gender mainstreaming? That means integrating the gender equity and equality perspective at all stages and levels. So far, we have discussed different terms, concepts, and how we are going to mainstream them so that all they get advantage of that. It is, as I mentioned earlier, policies. Who makes the policies? Government policies sometimes. Sometimes it is at organizational level at different workplaces. Programs. Programs, I'm referring to the programs, those are development programs for the benefit of people. And at the partner level, when we implement any of the projects with the help of partners, so they should also be involved in that. Policies, a gender responsive policy ensures that the needs of all citizens, women, men are equally addressed. This is a matter of policy. At different level, different policies are made. These are made by government. These are made by organizations. Like I said, organizational level, these are the policies made. The policies in terms of human resources, capacity building of staff, internal monitoring and tracking system, gender focal group, and gender mainstreaming positions. So these are some of the steps those can be taken at the organizational level. At human resource level, there should be such policies that men and women should be given equal opportunity in the organization, and those should be monitored regularly whether this policy is being implemented or not. Program level, like resources allocation, resources in terms of finance, in terms of material, in terms of labor, in terms of human resource. The resources should be allocated equally or as per need or according to equity, fair sources, so that everybody is benefiting out of these sources. And for that, there should be a cross-check, there should be audits whether these are being implemented or not. And for that, different tools, checklist, monitoring checklist could be used so that the management knows that whether these are being implemented or not, or what is needed to be done. Partners, implementing partners, the capacity of their staff, that should be built so that they are able to act accordingly. So this is, just a summary how the gender mainstreaming cycle works. Like it starts with the problem identification, formulation of projects, implementation. This is the most important part. We have very nice, plans, we have all the resources, but the matter of implementation, when it comes down to implementation, it is a real task. How do we know that it is being implemented? We monitor all these activities and evaluate and generate reports and act accordingly. So this, now I'm going to show a brief, of video that includes the basic gender-related concepts and definitions. It will work as a sum up of this session.
We all deserve to live in a world where women and girls are valued as human beings, equal to their male counterparts in every way, where they have the same rights, opportunities for education and employment, make their own healthcare decisions, and contribute to society. In places all over the world, this just isn't the case. That's why the United Nations have made gender equality one of their 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which they aim to achieve by the year 2030, to empower all women and girls to live their lives to the fullest. When girls have access to shelter, clean water, sanitation, education, and safety, and are given the freedom to do simple things in life, like play with friends, read books, and travel, they become empowered to think for themselves, act for themselves, and determine their own destinies. When this happens, girls are much more likely to attend school, become skilled, get jobs, have families, buy homes, fulfill their ambitions, and make a positive impact on the world around them. Gender equality should be a fundamental right, but girls and women are not treated equally in countries all around the world for all sorts of reasons. Society plays a big part in how gender roles are assigned. The values, core beliefs, and inherited customs that govern how people behave can be discriminatory and limit how women live their lives. In some countries, laws prevent women from owning property or receiving an inheritance from a family member. In many cultures, child marriages is still acceptable, with some girls as young as 8 promised to men twice, 3, or 4 times their age. This leaves the girl open to abuse, neglect, and complications during childbirth. Even in places where men and women technically have equal rights, there still may be a gender gap in pay, leadership, and representation in government. Great people continue to make progress worldwide, exposing systemic abuse toward women in the film and television industries with powerful social media campaigns. Investing in female entrepreneurs to reduce the current funding gap between women and men. Providing women and girls with equal access to education, healthcare, and decent work. And the number of women leaders has doubled since 2000, so that their say in political and economic decision-making processes can fuel sustainable economies and benefit societies and humanity at large. We can all work together to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls worldwide by 2030.
So that's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Muhammad Saghir.
You are welcome.
This-
Thank you. I would like to thank you all for the active participation. And I hope the knowledge which you have gained from this session will provide you the basis. I mean, I would not say that it is all. These are the basis to build up your knowledge further so that you are able to apply this knowledge at your family level, at the community level, at your workplace, at different level. So I wish you all the best, and I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the management of the university for inviting me for this session.
Now, I just put a link to download an assignment template in chat. So grab that assignment template and write an assignment looking at gender roles, gender equality, gender equity, and develop your ideas, develop your understanding using this presentation. And this is the purpose of classes like this, is to bring out an issue and think about it and develop your ideas from your culture, from your background, from what you see around you, and to understand what can we do to make the world a better place for everybody, inclusive education, inclusive job growth, inclusive government participation. And so gender becomes a critical part of all this. So Muhammad Saghir, thank you so much for bringing your expertise and clarity to these issues.
My pleasure. Okay.
Does anybody have any questions? You can raise your hand up. We have a question, Dr. Ernest Yeboah. Go ahead and activate your microphone.
Thank you, Dr. Limber. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, this is a very good presentation and informative. And the subject matter is interesting. Working with development partners for some time as the Agenda 2030, Leave No One Behind, and then the gender equality and equity that we've talked about and championing, which UNDP is championing this kind of cause, making sure that there is equity and there is equality in terms of resource allocation, in terms of programmatic development, in terms of providing opportunities for everyone within the society. However, there is a fundamental issue that we need to look at it critically. Now, as the presenter said, we have the sex and then we have the gender construct. That is something that we need to look at it. It's something we need to change the mindset, because I believe, I wrote in the chat box that the equity and the equality, it will be difficult to internationalize it because of our various localized laws. Because what works in, let's say, Pakistan, Afghanistan, or Ghana, or Malawi, or South Africa might not work in the United States. So when you look at these various countries, each one of them have various laws that also justify some of the people within the community. Let me give you an example. In a society, we said this kind of work cannot be done by women. This kind of work cannot be done by men. How do we synchronize it? How do we make sure we have the open platform, making sure each have that kind of privileges? As we speak now, most of the countries that has rectified the international law on human rights in terms of equality, in terms of they are doing well. However, because of the family values that with our family or with our locality, women cannot drive, women cannot do this kind of job, men cannot do A, men cannot do B. So until we change from our family settings, until then, it will be difficult to achieve the 2030 agenda. Because when a man is trying to do something that we perceive that is for women, the society frowns at it. Hey, this one is a no-go area. So one, the problem is ourselves. We need to change our mindset, making sure that what men can do, women can also do. What women can do, men can also do. So that is something that we need to look at it critically before we'll be able to achieve the equity and the equality. Because as we speak now, when it comes to education, opportunity has been given to male and female for equal opportunity. But what do you see? As time goes on, you will see more men going through the educational ladder than women. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the obstacles that doesn't allow women to progress? If you look at other society, men are not progressing. What are some of the challenges? What are some of the impediments that are not making men to also progress? So in our programming, in our activities, allocation of resources, as we are doing visibility studies, come out with solutions to help the society, we need to look at it critically and have fair distribution of resources, and then try to monitor and evaluate it and reinforce. Other than that, we'll be talking about it, but we will not achieve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I agree with you and your thoughts. You are very rightly said that we need to change the mindset, and how we are going to do it. I think as far as my experience works over the past many years, I mean, here comes the social mobilization, that we need to enforce social mobilization, again, considering in view the resources which we have. And before going for the large projects, of course, there should be a provision so that the social mobilization concept is not left. And without social mobilization, you are very right that mindsets cannot be changed. But again, that will take time. It's not matter of one day, 1 month. It may take years. But the thing is that if I compare my experience when I started with USAID in primary healthcare, it was 1984, and at the village level, we were not allowed to immunize the kids below 5 years of age. There were different taboos, but now the things have changed again because of the social mobilization. The main point you raised is very valid, and we should think about it, and it should be part of any study when we write down. your points should be taken into account, how we are going to change the mindset and what should be the strategy. That's very rightly said by you. Thank you.
Okay, we have another question from George William Ebulu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad, for your very, very educative and informative and experienced presentation. I just want to pick from the aspect of mainstreaming, which I found very, very useful, especially in the work that I do here in Somalia. But I would like to hear from your experience, you know, all these efforts of mainstreaming, equality, equity, and so on, applying these things into our, you know, development and humanitarian context. How do you bring in the aspect of monitoring and evaluation and reporting on progress on this? I would love to hear your experience on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think if I again refer to my experience, I would say it is a matter of ongoing gender sensitization at all levels. For sometimes we don't need even additional resources. It is a matter of motivation and the training and the sensitization that is given to the concerned staff or the people those are working in that area. And when, like I mentioned about my working with Sindh Judicial Academy, of course, there were learned judges, but there was need to gender sensitize them. So sometimes the gender sensitization workshops or awareness campaigns that work a lot. But again, since these make a lot of changes from practical point of view, from implementation point of view, then we should consider having some of the resources to emphasize on these activities, I would say. And again, for that matter, the community at the ground level should not be ignored anytime. This is I would say.
Do we have more questions, comments? We have a comment here from Oscar Sinkutwa. My understanding initially was very far from the knowledge that you have made in this presentation. So it would be interesting to hear Oscar talk about how his understanding initially was very far from the knowledge you're presenting. Oscar, are you around? There you are, I see you. Can you unmute your microphone, Oscar? Are you able to? Hello. So talk about how this is different from your understanding. What do you see?
Okay. I don't know if you hear me now.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Actually, I'm very new for this topic. I haven't tackled it in the previous time. So the way I was thinking when I hear the issues of gender equality and equity, it was really very far in my own understanding. But now the facilitator has made it very clear to me. You know, I have a company which is just a startup company. So these issues, I've seen that they're more related in terms of employment when you are trying to share the resources or the delegation of the job. You need to know about gender equality and the gender equity. That is my understanding currently, that you need to balance that these things, they go in this direction before you start implementing maybe your leadership. You need to know this direction. So it was my appreciation actually. I need to learn more about this topic. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And I would say that very good question. And we can relate it to the gender analysis before making further progress in the direction. When we analyze, when we talk about gender analysis, then a clear pictures comes up, and accordingly we can act. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I'm going to ask Rachel Young-Kwai to activate your microphone. And I saw that you posted many times into chat. So I want to hear from you too. Your thoughts, insights, recommendations, anything you have. Your experiences, hopes, dreams, anything you want to say.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I want to say thanks so much to Muhammad for the presentation, and this is really a reality. That's why for every time you spoke, I was like buttressing what you said, because I work almost 18 years in the area of gender equality, let's say gender-based violence. And I know those issues that keep women back, even in the workplace. If they have two staff of the same position, they are given, some work to do. And the males will always feel that they should be up there and the ladies should do the least. If it comes to training, just to have to conduct a training, and this training, you should be providing for the participants, maybe water, sodas, or maybe some snacks. The males usually want to be the ones sitting there doing the presentation, and the ladies are the ones doing the what? Serving. Because why? Society have made us to understand that this is our roles. And I work for the International Rescue Committee. We are saying this, what men can do, because it came up several times, what men can do, women can also do. It's not a bad thing. It's not going to be, it will make no difference if that male also can serve and give ladies water, give sodas, or even the participants. But sometimes we feel that they shouldn't be. So if we are thinking on changing the world, it starts with us. We should be at the forefront. And trust me, because the society have made us to feel that way. I live in a community, or I work in a community, because I'm from Liberia, I work in South Sudan. Trust me, if a guy picks up the bucket, because we are using water from the borehole, to go and fetch water, the ladies there will stone him because they feel that he wants to take their job away. That's their responsibility. It should be their work. So, as we are speaking to the wider community, educating people, even the youth, to make them know that this is, we all that, gender is just a role that is ascribed, and it can change over time, depending on the community, the society. So as we are speaking that, we are also working with women to let them know, guys, if your husband decides to make some snacks, even to prepare the meal, accept it. He's not taking away your job. He's not devaluing you. So balancing is a bit tricky.
Yeah,
And it's all because they were the community, the families, the religion, the country we came from have made us have placed ladies or females in that subordinate position. So getting some from that point is not easy. That's why I wrote that this is a process.
yes.
It's not an event, and we we need to keep moving on. And we will get there one day. Thanks so much for the presentation, and thanks Dr. Lambert for letting me to just air out my view. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I would like to share with you the experience which we have from my country. If you go to the rural areas at the village levels, for example, if a young man is newly married and his mother sees him that he is washing clothes, for example, what the mother would say that he has become the slave of his wife. So this is, this is a reality, that this type of examples we have in our families, at family level, at society level. So it is a matter of time, but we need to make efforts at the ground, at the grassroots level. It will take time, yes, of course. You very rightly shared your experiences. I agree with you, because I live also in a developing countries, and I have seen these while working with different organizations. Thank you
Muhammad
very much.
Saghir, do you have much time left? Because we have a lot of questions coming in.
Time is already over 30 minutes.
Yes, do you want to close now?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Because that's all.
Do you feel comfortable giving your email if people want to contact you with more questions or comments?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I can. In chat, I can write down my email.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, then Muhammad Saghir will write email. Will you be back, by the way, to talk more?
Yes, I am available. It would be my pleasure to do that.
Perfect. So he's going to write his email into chat. You can copy it and then email him questions and comments. It's good to have contacts. And also think about this, when you're writing an assignment and you have that bibliography and assignment where you're talking about the sources that you used to research your assignment, you can put in an interview in there. So if you email Muhammad Saghir and ask questions and get responses to that and use those responses for your assignment, just put in your bibliography his name, Saghir Muhammad, an interview by email on such and such a date.
Right.
And it's a beautiful way to add something to your bibliography by interviewing people. You can interview someone in your community, someone in your government, someone in a business, someone who's doing daycare, whatever. You can interview somebody and put that into your bibliography. Use the people around you as resources to research your topics. Okay.
Can you see my email?
No, you must have
No?
sent it to someone else. Did you send it to everyone or to a particular person?
Just I sent it, in the chat.
I do not see it yet.
Can you see it now?
I'm looking for it. I don't see it.
Direct messages.
It should, you say to everyone, make sure that little blue box says everyone. So make sure that you send it to everyone, not just a certain person.
Zoom users?
No, at the very top, you should see everyone.
Everyone in meeting. Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah. There you go.
It is It is Saghir, SAGHIR.MUHAMMAD @gmail.com, right?
Yeah. So
Great.
if you get some responses from an email, use those to build your bibliography for an assignment.
Okay.
It's a great way to develop your knowledge is by talking with people and using their knowledge to develop your assignments.
All right.
You can even interview your grandmother,
All right.
or if some of you have grandsons and daughters,
Yeah.
interview them, right?
Yeah.
What
Okay.
what do they think? And then compare it to an interview you do with your grandmother and your grandfather,
All right.
and you get an idea of how the different generations view this subject, and then
Right,
put that into
true.
your bibliography. These are
Right.
all options to develop your knowledge.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
very
you
much
so
for,
much, Muhammad Saghir. We look
You're
forward to
welcome.
seeing you again.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again.
Okay, I'm going to let everybody unmute their microphones so that they can say thank you and bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much, Dr.
Thank you very
Saghir.
much.
Thank you. You are
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're
Thank you very much for the
Thank you very
presentation.
much.
Thank
Nice,
you.
Bye bye.
nice meeting with you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.